Okay, everyone, it's good to see you today. I'm Benjamin Parker. This is Sports and Money. Hope you're having a really good day wherever you're watching us from. This is part 2 of a 2-part session of videos on the Kansas City Chiefs and their draft picks that they just picked up a week or so ago. I'm only focusing again on the top 4 draft picks. I'm not really looking at their 6th round picks because they just tend to be longer term projects. So we're looking at the top 4 guys. In the first video, we saw how they're going to fit in the 2018 season. In this video, we're going to look at these same 4 draft picks and the bigger picture financially, how they're going to fit on the Chiefs in 2019 and beyond. So you can see we've switched over to 2019, not this upcoming season. Listen, if you're a fan, you probably really don't like to look too far ahead. You just really like to be excited about the upcoming season. For the Chiefs, there's a lot to be excited about for the 2018 season. I don't see any reason why you can't win and win a lot. For the upcoming season, if you're Andy Reid or if you're a head coach, your focus really has to be on the upcoming season. That really totally has to be your focus, is to get that football team ready for the one upcoming season that you have, more specifically for the one upcoming game that you have and whoever that opponent happens to be next. Now, if you're a general manager, your job is somewhat different. If you're Andy Reid or an NFL coach, you're focused on the upcoming season. Now, Andy Reid does a marvelous job. He's probably one of the top 3 or 4 guys in the NFL who do this. Andy Reid does a tremendous job of also understanding what the general manager has to do, and that is look ahead. 2 seasons, 3 seasons, even 4 seasons, and try to project what the team is going to look like, where you're going to be weak, where you need to try to upgrade ahead of time before things get too dicey. That's Brett Veach's job. Even though Brett Veach will be somewhat concerned with this upcoming season for the football team, it's a big concern for him. He also has to pay a lot of attention to the upcoming seasons, 2019, 20, 21. Good coaches and general managers will work together on this. Even though the head coach is focused on the upcoming season, he understands that you've got to look ahead too. A good general manager, even though he's looking all over the place ahead, he understands that you've got to build a football team for this season. So Brett Veach, this is what he's looking at. Here's our board. We already looked at this during video number 1. These are your safeties. These are your linebackers. These are your cornerbacks. This is your defensive line, your 3-man defensive front. Here are your draft picks: Breland Speaks, Derek Nottie, Dorian O'Daniel, and Armani Watts. Now, if you were the Chiefs, you knew what your biggest needs were heading into this offseason. It was cornerback and safety. You didn't address any of that with your top 3 draft picks. You kind of addressed it with Armani Watts at safety, but at number 124, that's really not going to impact you a whole lot in this upcoming season. Not like a top 10 draft pick would have, which they didn't have anyway, not like a free agent would have. So they really didn't address these 2 spots, safety and cornerback, during this off season, not as much as they wanted to. That happens. Sometimes you just can't address all the spots you want to between free agency and the draft. Sometimes you can. But all NFL teams have these weaknesses. I don't care who you are. This just happens to be the Chiefs' weaknesses. Any team in the NFL is going to have these spots that you're going to try to cover up and that opponents all season long are going to try to exploit. The Chiefs have Eric Berry and Daniel Sorensen. They're both under contract for 2019. So you're pretty much comfortable that if you want to keep these guys, if they're playing decent, you can. For the next 2 seasons, 2018, 2019, they're under contract. You move over to the cornerback spot. Fuller and Nelson. Fuller's under contract for the next couple of seasons. Nelson is only under contract for 1 more season. Makes $2.1 million this season. 2019, he is not under contract. He will not be there. The hope is that Armani Watts, or possibly one of the other backups that the Chiefs have, but ideally Armani Watts could step up and be starting in 2019 when Nelson is gone, and at least be performing as good as Nelson is performing to this point. Here at the linebacker spots, D. Ford is going to be gone after this season. He might have been gone during this offseason, but his 5th-year option was injury guaranteed, and at the time he couldn't pass a physical. So he's on board for $8.7 million this year. He is not under contract for 2019. Don't expect him to be back in 2019. He'll play this year, hopefully play well, but probably very unlikely for the Chiefs to try to re-sign him in 2019. He'll probably be on the free agent market. So they got a spot at defensive end, a starting spot at defensive end that they need to fill. Also, Right down here with Alan Bailey. He's playing at $8 million this season. They're not going to have anybody there at the following season. Again, 2019, he's not under contract. It's very unlikely that they're going to re-sign him. So that does two things. It opens up a starting spot at defensive end. It opens up at outside linebacker. It opens up a starting spot at defensive end. It also frees up $16.7 million in cap space. So the hope is that Breland Speaks, your defensive tackle, who you are moving to defensive end, his natural spot is the defensive end in a three-man front, is that Breland Speaks is going to get plenty of playing time this season, get used to the Chiefs' defense, and take over that spot right there at a rookie price. And then you can go out and try to pay for another edge rusher to take D Ford's spot for 2019. With Derek Nottie, the hope is this. You know he's going to be good at stopping the run. He's a mountain. You can't move him off the blocks. You hope this season he gets a lot of snaps and a lot of playing time, works in well with Xavier Williams, either spelling him for fatigue or just in a rotational basis, and that Derek Nottie can also figure out how to get some pressure on the quarterback, how to move the pocket from straight up the middle and get a push on the quarterback. If he can even do some of that, then the hope is that Derek Nottie can take over that defensive tackle position either in one season or in 2 seasons when Xavier Williams is gone. Xavier Williams is under a 2-year deal. It may take a couple of seasons for Derek Nottie to get to do that, but then you would still have 2 seasons of a rookie contract where he could be playing there at that defensive tackle spot and fits in just perfectly with what the Chiefs want to do. Dorian O'Daniel, he's a hybrid. He doesn't have a true position. He played linebacker all through college, but he is really not built like an NFL linebacker. That's not to say he can't add on some muscle and some experience and play the linebacker spot all day long in the NFL, but he's not really truly built for that. He's also not really fast enough to play at the cornerback spot. Could he move to safety? Possibly. Could he take over Daniel Sorensen's role in a season or 2 once he adds some experience? Quite possibly. Dorian O'Daniel plays hard, plays smart, is always around the action, very athletic, very fast, but the Chiefs are trying to find a position for him, and I think they'll do that in the upcoming seasons. For now, he can play the nickel, he can play some safety, he can play some linebacker. He just can't play any of those positions for the entire game or he would get exposed. So, but for Dorian O'Daniel, you're going to like this guy as the years progress. He could possibly fill either the nickel spot in years to come, take over one of these linebacker spots, or take over Daniel Sorensen. Now, one other thing to consider, Justin Houston. His cap number does not grow that much from 18 to 19. It moves from 20.6 in this upcoming season to $21.1 million in 2019. What does change for Justin Houston, and we've talked about this before for the Kansas City Chiefs, is the dead cap space. If you were to release him right now, you would not be gaining any cap space for the Chiefs. His cap hit is roughly about the same number that cap hit is. If you were to take a dead cap hit of $21 million, you would be saving yourself nothing for the Chiefs. However, in 2019, when his cap space moves to 21.1, his dead cap hit goes all the way down to $7 million. You could save $14 million in the 2019 season alone, $14 million by letting Justin Houston go. You could also, in the upcoming season, save $22 million during the 2020 season to let him go. Say, well, we love Justin Houston. We signed him to that big contract. Why would we even think about doing that? Well, there's several reasons. Number one, that's just the way the NFL system is set up. That's the way NFL general managers think. Whenever you have a big cap number, it doesn't matter who the player is, aside from quarterback, you're always thinking about what else can I do with that amount of money. And if you're the Kansas City Chiefs and you can cut Justin Houston and have $14 million to play with, in addition to the $16.7 million you're going to get off of these 2 spots, then you've got some money to play with. You can think about actually covering several spots on defense or on the offensive line, either one, whatever you decide to do with that kind of money. And then again in 2020, you've still got that cap number that will be completely gone, not even a $7 million cap hit, a complete $22 million that you could play with for 2020 as well. So don't think that the Chiefs aren't tempted. I'm not trying to predict that they're going to let Justin Houston go after the 2018 season. I'm not in the prophesying business, but a general manager has to think about these things. And they will be thinking about letting Justin Houston go if they think they can find somebody in the draft who can at least get some pressure on the quarterback from that edge spot, or if one of these draft picks turns out that they can get some pressure on the quarterback, either Speaks or O'Daniel, or if they think they can go out and get a free agent who's just cheaper, maybe get a couple of free agents who can get pressure on the quarterback from the edge spots. But for the Chiefs, they're going to be thinking about that, letting Justin Houston go. It's going to be on their minds in the 2019 offseason. Let's look at one more thing and then we're done. The Chiefs defense has already started a radical makeover during this offseason. We said goodbye to Holly. We said goodbye to Derek Johnson. We said goodbye to Ron Parker. We said goodbye to quite a few guys off of that defense. We brought in Anthony Hitchens. They brought in Xavier Williams. Now, this is only step one of what will really be a 3 off-season thing for the Chiefs to change over this whole defense. From the end of 2017 season, you've got the 18 off-season, the 19 off-season, and the 20 off-season. This whole defense is going to be completely remade. The only guys who might remain for that time might be Eric Berry. Everybody else is pretty much going to change. Here's why. We've already seen Hitchens step in. He's new. He'll be here for a while. Reggie Ragland only has 2 years left on his rookie contract. After 2019, he is not under contract anymore. Same thing for Kendall Fuller. Even though you really like him, he's super cheap for the next 2 seasons. After those 2 seasons, he is not technically at this point under contract for the 2020 season. Same thing when you move down here, Xavier Williams. He's only signed to a 2-year deal. 18 and 19. He is not under contract for 2020. Chris Jones, a burgeoning star, is looking amazing. He is the deal of the century for the Chiefs right there at that spot. He's only under contract for 2 more seasons. You might say, well, that's a long time from now. In NFL lifespans, it is. But this is something Brett Veach has to think about. You could literally look at, over the next couple of seasons, all of your defensive line people being completely gone. Your edge rushers, Houston and Ford, could both be gone next offseason. Ford, simply because he's not under contract. Houston could be let go for financial reasons. Reggie Ragland, your inside linebacker, could be gone. Fuller and Nelson could be gone as well. So you're looking at massive changes. We've already seen quite a bit during this offseason, and the reason the Chiefs did this was to try to get ahead of it. They had some guys getting old. They had a defense that wasn't very good. They had a defense that was getting beat up against the run. They had to go ahead and address these things during this offseason because the next 2 off seasons are going to feature some of the same. You've got these same decisions and contracts running out. So you're really hoping here with these 4 guys to get some solid performance, some guys you can build off of. Are there any stars here out of these 4 draft picks? Probably not. It's possible, but probably not. But what you do want, you want guys who can fill roles, who can do their jobs, and do it at a very cheap price. So with Noddy stepping in, stopping the run, and hopefully getting some pressure from the defensive tackle spot. Breland Speaks, you want to assume that over the next season or 2, he can step in and just be a really, really solid defensive end who can get pressure on the quarterback, who can hold up against the run, and just perform really solidly. Dorian O'Daniel, you hope to find a spot for him. Athletic and fast, smart, can cover. He knows how to get after the football. You hope to find a spot for him as well, a starting spot. And then with Armani Watts, you clearly hope that he steps up at the safety position. So that's what they're looking at over the next 2 to 3 seasons. This defense is going to be totally remade. You've only seen the first phase of what will really be 3 phases for the Kansas City Chiefs. Berry, as long as he's healthy, will have a spot, and the Chiefs will be able to keep him. Hitchens is signed for the long term. You've got him for at least the next 3 seasons, probably the next 5. Everybody else is subject to change on this Chiefs defense. All right. Thank you so much for listening. We will see you next time on Sports and Money. Have a great day. Goodbye.